The water cycle. You remember the water cycle, right? Like from science class? You don't? Well, I'm gonna tell you about it. This is Twisted, a game about storm chasing. But what does storm chasing have to do with the water cycle? Everything. From how clouds form to how tornadoes are made. So, let's start right now. Start here at this lake. What does this lake have to do with the creation of storms? Evaporation. Evaporation is when water, well, evaporates into an invisible vapor, and it rises high up into the atmosphere to make clouds. How do clouds form, though? Condensation. Condensation is when water vapor gets high enough to the point that it becomes liquid again, and they clump up together or condense into clouds. But what comes after that? You'll see. You will see in just a second. There we go. That's what I've been waiting for. A cloud. I'll talk about my vehicle later. This isn't just a regular cloud. This is a supercell. Supercells aren't very common. Well, I mean, they are, but like, whatever. These are the type of clouds to produce tornadoes. And this is an example of condensation, when a cloud condenses to a big possible storm. So, when a cloud gets big and heavy enough, it starts to rain. The fancy word for rain? Precipitation. Or precip for short, as I like to call it. Now, I'm just gonna give a quick spiel on my vehicle. This is the Tornado Intercept Vehicle 2, or TIV2 for short, owned by these guys. Oh, I'm gonna a storm warning. Well, let's listen to it real quick. Actually, no, we don't have time for that. Lightning! Lightning has nothing to do with the water cycle, I think. Maybe it does. I just forgot. So, let's look at the map. Clouds are big. I'm just looking at this to navigate. This is very important. So, it rains. It's gonna start to rain, yay! Well, what happens when rain starts hitting the ground? Well, some of it goes underwater, and some of it flows downhill. So for now, I'm just gonna talk about the water that's flowing downhill. This is called runoff. It's called runoff. It's when water, well, runs off of land and often into bodies of water. That's how rivers are made. There's just big, huge runoffs. And look, the rain's coming down. Turn on my lights. Water tends to run off more in very steep, like, mountains and downhill areas. But why did I just go up the road there? Well, when water gets high enough, you can, like, slip off the road very easily. So, be very careful when driving in water. Sorry, I forgot to talk about infiltration. It's when the water goes through, like, soil. It stops being above soil and it goes into the soil and underground. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, now I'm actually done. Goodbye. This is a cave. Looks pretty real, right? Well, it's still in Roblox. But how do caves form? One word. Weathering. Weathering is when rocks break down or dissolve over time. There are two types of weathering: physical and chemical. Physical weathering is when rocks break down. One way the rocks break down is something called frost wedging or frost action. Frost action is when water seeps between cracks of rocks and freezes. When water freezes, it expands, making the crack bigger and allowing more water to flow inside the crack. When the crack in the rock gets big enough, it breaks off. But what is chemical weathering? Well, rain can have trace amounts of acid in it. And when that acid rain comes down, it can dissolve certain minerals, such as calcium. When acidic water travels to the ground, it is called infiltration. When water infiltrates through soil, it can reach bedrock, which is a layer of solid rock below the dirt. When acidic water reaches a certain type of bedrock, such as limestone, it can dissolve the rock. When enough rock is dissolved, it becomes a cave like this. But how does water travel through the ground? Well, let's see. Here we are. This is Dig to China. A game on Roblox where you, well, dig to China. Come on, what did you expect? This is Roblox. But we ain't talking about this digging, no. Remember infiltration? Well, this is what happens below the grass. Sometimes water can't even get through the soil. Or what's below the soil, rather. Because of two key factors. Porosity and permeability. Porosity is how much space is in between little particles. But however, porosity does not change with particle size. So if you have two perfectly round particles, no matter what size they are, porosity will not change. However, it will change if there are weird shapes of the particles, or how they're packed, or how they're even organized. Like, if it's all just a mix of it, yes, the porosity will change, but if the particles are all the exact same size, packed perfectly together, then it's not gonna change. Hey, cool, I made it to China. Side quest complete. But what about permeability? Well, permeability is basically how fast water travels between particles. So, unlike porosity, permeability will increase with particle size, so greater permeability will help water infiltrate more. But where does water go once underground? Below the soil is a zone of aeration, a large area where, between particles, is mostly just air. Below this layer is a zone of saturation, which can also be called an aquifer. This is also where you get your well water from. Here, water is in between the gaps of the particle. Unlike in the zone of aeration, there's just air between the particles. That's where the name comes from. Aeration. Yeah, you get it. But sometimes water can be a little silly. Sometimes it rises just slightly above the zone of saturation, which is called capillary fringe. But there's one little tiny more thing we need to talk about for the water cycle. Let's head back up to the top when we're not in China. And let's take a look at these trees and plants and stuff. Well, as you know, plants and trees and shrubs and grass too, and weeds, yucky, have water in them. That's how they live. That is how they live. And that water can even be evaporated, just like evaporation. However, this has a special word because it's come from trees. Yay! This word that's very special is called transpiration. Kind of sounds like transportation. I'm very happy, but it's not transportation. So, yay, transpiration. It's when water evaporates from trees. So special. Yay! And that's it. That's literally it. That's the water cycle. Back to school, folks. And that's it for the water cycle. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to smash that like button and destroy the subscribe button. I wish I had never said that. Please take that. And also, give me a good grade. I worked really hard on this. Yeah, this is so cool. I hope you enjoyed this little video I made for my earth science project. And, yeah. Goodbye. Backflip. Yahoo!